Pileggi Technical Services, your computers and electronics concierge service. Welcome back. Well, today we have a special episode because this is episode 10, which is a nice milestone for me. I enjoy making these videos, and if you're watching them, thank you for watching them. Also, if you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing to my channel. Also, today is Labor Day. It's Labor Day 2015. So I'd like to say thank you for all those people that work. Even if you stay at home and you're, stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad and you take care of the house all day, that's still a job. So I applaud people who get things done. And without further ado, we're going to get right into this exciting episode, because today we're reviewing a project that I made quite a while ago. This is actually about 4 years ago, August 2011 now. And this is what I call a Boom P3. As you could probably guess, this is a battery-powered MP3 player. But it goes just a little beyond that, as we'll see in a moment. But first, let me say that this is probably version 3.0 of the same concept. Originally it started off as a kit, which was just the amplifier board, and then I provided the guts to take that amplifier board and turn it into something. And it was a variety of different ideas. I started with a project box from Radio Shack, found these speakers from an old boom box that I ever claimed. And the story just keeps going, but you're looking at the newest and latest version of it. There's only one thing I could think of adding to this thing would be a Bluetooth module, but again, we'll get into that later. But let's take a look at what you can see here in the obvious. Here are the two speakers that I mentioned that I took from a boombox. This is a MP3 module, which runs off 5 volt, so this needs a regulated 5 volt power supply, which there is one in here. It's mounted into plexiglass. Now this will work with a USB stick or an SD or MMC card. You can actually switch back and forth between both of them using this button. It does have a volume up and down, and you can skip the tracks and play and pause. There's no stop. Also, this only plays MP3s, no WMAs, no WAV files, nothing like that, just MP3s. Also, there's a limitation to how much memory it'll take. 8 gigabytes is that limit. And yeah, I've upgraded the little light here to a blue LED from the green it came with. It also does have a remote, which I'll show you in a second. And yeah, and this is great. This little device was really easy to use. And behind it, I'm not sure if you could see it on camera or not. I've got my lights reflecting in too much. Behind it, you can see there's the capacitors. There's the amplifier board. It's really hard to see in that case, but it's a 2 times 1 watt amplifier. So it's not the most powerful amp, but as you can see, this is more for like near field listening. Like you're going to put this on your desk and listen to it close by. Although it does fill up the room with sound pretty good. You can also see in the bottom in here is a battery pack. This was reclaimed out of a DVD player. Basically, it was like one of those like flip style DVD players that looks like a laptop. You put the disc in it and screens on the top. It had this battery pack in the back that was removable, and you can either charge the battery pack directly from the battery pack by plugging it in from the wall adapter, or plug in the wall adapter into the DVD player, and it would charge through it. So that means that the entire charge circuit was part of that battery. And this is a lithium-ion, so it's got that smart balancing between the cells. This was a long strip where they were in a line, and I've actually modified this battery pack to be doubled to fit into this case, also fit into the prior case. Basically, what I did was the output of this board is a barrel connection, a really small barrel connection, and on the inside of that DVD player was the male part of it, I guess you could say, that battery clipped into and engaged. Well, I took that jack out and I added my own wires to it, which I left extra in here just for the sake of it. But that comes back down to this jack on the side. If I turn it over here, you'll see it says battery out. And this is just a standard, I believe it's a 5.5 exterior, 2.5 interior, that's in millimeters, connector. And I just made this little jumper wire. And what this does is, this jumper wire connects to the input of the actual unit. So to charge this, you take this out and you plug the charger into this jack, and there's actually a little LED indicator right here, which I'll link into a picture of that lit up here. And also, so this is a power in and power out for that battery, basically. So it's charge in or battery out. So when this is connected in here, the power is coming out of that battery into the top part up here, which at the top of this unit is a 5-volt regulator. Again, this needs to run off a 5-volt supply, so I need that since this is a 8.4 volt battery system. Another note with this battery, you know, all batteries have a top voltage and then a lower voltage that, you know, their die point. And then if you have one of these, you know, lithium-ion batteries, they have circuitry in here that's designed to, you know, stabilize that cutoff point. So when you get to it, it just stops the unit from drawing more power so it doesn't kill the batteries. Well, the voltage regulator also has a cutoff power, and it has to be 2 volts greater than what you're trying to achieve. So I need 5 volts. So that means I must have a 7-volt supply. So this 8.4 battery pack can supply battery power down to the point of 7 volts, and then my regulator kicks out, and at that point, this dies. And the way I have this wired up, so does the amplifier board. But the thing about this particular unit, the amplifier board takes a voltage range from 1.8 volts to 35 volts. So if I want to be smart about it, I can actually rewire this unit. So the regulated power supply basically powers just this, and also the charger port down the bottom here. And then the rest of the power support for the amplifier is coming directly off the battery. So that way I can go below that 7-volt cutoff point of this regulator to be able to use this, you know, amplifier. And the reason why I'd want to do that is because just like the power on the other side, I have an audio input on this side too. So the MP3 player outputs to this jack, which is jumped over to the input of the amplifier in this jack, which means by disconnecting this plug here, you could plug this into your cell phone, or as you can see from the piece of Velcro, you could take another, you know, device, maybe something like this, that's just a cheap MP3 player that plays, you know, WMAs or a different format, and you could plug it in like this, and that'll work great, because then you could just, you know, use this volume knob to control what's coming out of this, because that potentiometer is wired directly to this input switch, or input jack, I should say. Also, you could use this for your cell phone, anything like that. Any device you want to monitor, you can plug it directly into this. Also, you can do it the other way. Say you want to take this MP3 player and connect it into your stereo. You could just take this end of it, either, you know, plug one of those adapters that gives you 2 RCAs, or, you know, you tech people know how to do that, but you would take this and hook it right into that system, and then you can pipe this MP3 audio back into whatever system you want. And I guess if you wanted to get fancy, you could even use both of them at the same time. Use this as a monitoring device for one audio source while pumping this into another. But either way, this volume knob is for that amplifier. And I did that because the input on that is direct. There's no like gain knob on the amplifier. So this is actually attenuating the signal. Also to that effect, there's separate power switches for the amp and the MP3 player, whereas this side's the main power switch. Also, here's that remote to control this unit. Without having screens on here, you have to, it's kind of, you know, finicky the way it works, but you can actually use this remote and do the up and down here to change the folders. And then, you know, some of the buttons don't work. In fact, I hear that the newer ones that they ship out of these, the folder button doesn't even work anymore, so you just have to put everything on one drive. Also, as you'll see here in a minute, the drive kind of just takes it from random. It doesn't start like your album one, track one, and then goes from there. It just picks like a random song, random file within your database and just plays it. So it's a very, very basic player, but that's what I wanted. So I'll show you, I have a USB stick here. I actually bought this for the unit because it's blue and matches, but that just plugs in here. Power switch is over here, and you'll see the thing lights up. There's a power switch on top, and this is the indicator light over here for the MP3 player. You also see there's a blue light on the amplifier itself, and there's also two blue LEDs on the top up here for the voltage regulator, and that just shines down on the inside. Now, I have pictures of this in the dark from when I built it. I also have a lot of build-up pictures, so at the end of the video will be just a bunch of those videos, pictures lined up so you could see what it looked like. You can also see in the bottom my nickname, it's old nickname. August 2011 I signed it, and this is actually revision 2.0 I called it. The first one had no volume knob. You use this volume, which meant when you plug the device into it, you had to use the device volume too, and it's more convenient having a knob. These switches were also located in the front, and the main power switch was in the front. And this plexiglass, unfortunately, gets cracked really easily when you're working on it, so making it was a pain in the neck. So version 2.0, I just redid this. But there's actually a song playing. I just had the volume turned down. This is a song I wrote a while back just for, you know, avoiding copyright issues for playing someone else's music, but I'm not sure how well the camera's going to pick up how this sounds. Let's see if I can get it to go. And I am outside too. Now there is a point where this will actually distort because it's really driving speakers that are, you know, larger than what it was meant for, and also it's more of like a headphone amplifier. But again, it wasn't meant to be driven at large volumes, and also depends on what kind of music you're listening to. Sometimes the distortion isn't necessarily bad. I actually use this same amplifier in a guitar amp kind of setup, and you can put it like to 11, I guess you could say, and really boost up the power to it, and you know, you'll get that distorted sound, which if you're playing a guitar, might give you an extra added effect. But there's really not much more to this thing. It's pretty simple in design. This is all just made out of just plywood. There's actually a box within a box, if you could say that. There's a smaller box with the guts inside that's painted black, and then that sits inside this larger box, which is kind of like a bass port, so all the sound will go around the back and then come out through the, what I considered the mouth. It was supposed to look like a robot in a way, where these are the eyes, this is your mouth, this is like a blank part of his face, maybe that's his nose, you know, however you want to visualize it. And these kind of were to like indicate the loops of the ears. So this is, yeah, my little Boom P3. The battery life on this thing is actually really awesome. I use this for a couple hours, you know, a night when I use it, and I probably use it a couple nights out of a week. I probably charge it every few months, honestly. In fact, I charged it up just for this video to make sure it wouldn't die in it, and it charged pretty quickly. It didn't have much of a drain on it. So these devices are very, very efficient. Now, people have asked me after showing them this, can you build one bigger? You know, something I could take to the beach. Well, behind it here in this shed is a larger unit, and it's actually meant for that purpose. Unfortunately, I don't have a battery system for it yet. I kind of just stumbled upon this, and I haven't really figured out how to reverse engineer it. Plus, the larger one, I wanted to make something like with a 12-volt, you know, sealed lead-acid battery, something to give it more juice. And again, I don't have a way of charging that. So I kind of put that project on hold. Everything's done but that part of it. And now I see on eBay you can just buy, you know, lithium-ion modules and battery packs and all these embedded, you know, devices. I may just go that route. So that'd be something I have to revisit. Also, speaking of charging, this is the original charger the unit came with. Not sure if I can get this on camera. But this is a switching adapter. It's a 100 to 240 volt input, 50 or 60 hertz, and it puts out 9 volt, 3 amps. The only thing I had to do with this was change the plug on it. I just put one of these, again, 5.5 by 2.5 millimeter plugs on it, and I also put one of these ferrite cores, I guess you could say, at the end of it, just to keep it, you know, from causing any issue. Now, unfortunately, you can't charge this and get playback at the same time, because once you pull this plug out, you kill the circuit, and you know, won't be able to power it unless you plug in an external power supply while this one's charging it. That's another thing about this that I haven't been able to figure out, is how to charge it and power the unit at the same time. Plus, the other problem with that is switching power supplies are kind of noisy, and as this thing stands, when you plug this in to just power the amplifier, it makes an incredible amount of noise. So this thing's best powered off its battery. It's definitely the most efficient. This was actually one of a couple different designs I came up with. Some of them I've given away to friends, so they have their own custom version of it. It looks nothing at all like this one, but has similar features. This is the only one that has the built-in MP3 player. I also had somebody build me a bunch of boxes at one point to build these in, and they were going to be a long unit with 2 speakers at the end and then the piece in the middle, and that way it was a flat design. This is on top. It looks more like a regular boombox. Also, I should point out, when I came up with these, like the Beats Audio Pill and all those little Bluetoothy speakers, weren't really that big in the market. I came out with this, and a few months later they came out with that stuff for the Christmas season, and I was like, oh, that's my idea. But when you don't go to the patent office and, you know, claim it for yourself, this is what happens. But this one is unique because it's made out of wood. It's handmade by an individual, and it's unique to that individual. So if I made you one of these, it'd be however you wanted it to look. Also, I found one of these the other day, believe it or not, at the Home Depot checkout, which is kind of neat because it's one of these, you know, wires like I have over here, but it's 3 foot. So I'm going to try to either spool it along the top up here, or maybe make some kind of a holder for the side over there, so you can come further away from that device. And that Bluetooth receiver would actually be a little box that would clip over here, and then this would plug into it the same way this MP3 player did, and then to get power, it would just plug in off the MP3 port in the front. So that's another idea I've come up with. I just have to get the pieces to do that. And if I do, there will be a follow-up video on this and show you how I did that. Well, once again, I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned at the end of it. There will be pictures of the build-up on this. And happy Labor Day.